Hey guys, welcome back. This is Steve with LRM Leasing. So it's that time again. More questions that you guys have left with me on YouTube, which has been awesome. And I also have been seeing that you guys have also been answering some of the questions that people have left questions behind. So I love seeing that kind of stuff, which is great. What I want to do right now, let's jump right into some of these questions you guys have left. I know one of them is, what jack do I use when I jack up the cab to replace the cab airbag? So I use a 2-ton jack. This is about 7.5 inches tall. And it's just an automotive jack you can find at AutoZone or online, or maybe in your spare car or a car. And what I do is I'll wedge it right between the frame and the cab itself. And usually what I'll do is piece a plank of wood, a small piece for a shim, and then jack it up. But this is the jack that I use, and it's been great for me for now 20 some odd years. So it's been a fast tool for me, and it's something that you guys can keep in your back of the truck if you want, or at home. But this is the jack that I use. So little small car jack, 2-ton. Another one I have was a question about how to drain the power steering. It's great, but instead of answering that question, what I would like to do is I want to put that on my next video coming down the pipeline, coming your way. So we'll do a step-by-step on how to change the fluid. I know I had another video on how to replace the power steering filter. So the next one we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys how to drain the fluid and do the filter at the same time, and what kind of fluid to use. So that I'll have coming down the pipeline to you guys. And then that would answer that question for sure. And I'd like to leave that for you guys so you guys can save some money, and that's my goal, is for you to save some money. Now, the next question that I have is, the customer stated that his oil temperature seems pretty high. He's saying it's getting around 225 to 230. Well, in a Freightliner Cascadia, that is normal to have. They'll reach anywhere between 2 and 230. Now, just remember guys, that the fan won't kick on until 221, especially with when it comes to the coolant. Now, if you run your AC system, the fan's gonna come on a little bit more. So those temperatures are normal for the oil temp on a Freightliner Cascadia. The oil temp is correct. Between 200 and 230. I did notice, I just saw it right here, is that someone applied to the comment saying that you should be nervous around 200. That's not the case. Even with the older trucks, the temperature used to get up to 210 and the fan would kick on. And these newer trucks, 200 to 230 is the normal now. All right, so that is not true. You do not need to be nervous when you get up to 200. Because if that's the case, your coolant would be a lot higher than 200. 221 is what it's gonna kick on. The fan, that is normal for these new trucks. So don't be nervous about that. You're completely fine. All right, the next question I have is, there's a guy that has a code. He has a Freightliner Cascadia 2019, and he had a code of 520-349 FMI 14. So I already know that you replaced the knock sensor and the soot sensor. That's great. It is part of the troubleshooting steps to check those. But the next part would be, and I've seen it several times in this shop, is where you have to pull the DPF filters. You're gonna see it one or two ways. One, the filter is dirty and needs to be cleaned. Or two, you notice that they're cracked. Once they're cracked, you gotta toss and replace the filters. So that code would be the next step. If you already replaced the knock sensor and the soot sensor, is pull the DPF filters and then inspect. Because then you'll notice if it's dirty inside to send out for cleaning, or if the filter's cracked, then you need to replace. So for that code, that's be the next step, considering you've already replaced those sensors. So the guy with the code, I know he replaced the knock sensor and the soot sensor. I know it's not easy, especially a driver over the road without a computer, to determine if they are bad truly. And I know it's being proactive, because it's something that you guys can physically do yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I know that you just want to get on top of the road. The only thing I would suggest in that whole troubleshooting, pull the soot sensor first and see if there's any buildup. If there's any buildup, then we clean the soot sensor and then try to do a park regen, and that could clear it out. Sometimes you would need a computer to clear out the code, but if you do see where there is no buildup, the next step would be pulling the filters. But I know being proactive by replacing the sensors just to get the truck moving so you can make that money, I get it. But if it keeps staying on, the next step would be pulling the DPF filters. So there's nothing here I would say you wouldn't do differently. other than maybe get a computer or a friend that may have one so you could try to figure out the codes a little bit easier, or get with your technician that you know and trust, and then you can pull out the troubleshooting steps. It's not that many. It does come down to knock sensor, soot sensor, and then ultimately the last thing would be your filters for that code. I have a customer here that indicates that the seatbelt light is indicating on the dash. So from my experience and what I've seen in these trucks is because there's a wire right next to where you guys buckle in and goes right to the floor. So I've seen where people step on it, or they got their dumbbells from lifting weights, they put it right on there and break the wire free. So what I would do is go to your seat. You'll see a wire right next to where the seatbelt, where you click into, follow that down to the floor. If you see that the wire's broken, you may need to repair it, and that should resolve that problem. That's the most common issue that I have seen. There could be more. One I've always seen is where people have left or stepped on the wire, and that usually will cause that problem, and the light will indicate on the dash. So just check your wire, make sure it's plugged in, and make sure it's not damaged. Next one I have is, how many miles should you change your transmission fluid? So, and on an automatic transmission, which is very common out there, you want to change it as follow the manual, the OEM manual, but it's going to be anywhere between 30 to 60,000 miles. And that's when you want to change it. And then when it comes to the fluid, depending on the truck you're driving, make sure you get with your manufacturer to determine what kind of oil goes in that truck. Now these days, it should be all synthetic. You just got to make sure you get the correct weight. And now we'll follow up to another question that another person has left is, what kind of fluid should the transmission take, and does it cross among all the other makes and models? The answer is no. So whatever vehicle you are driving, make sure you get with your the manufacturer of the vehicle you're driving to find out, one, the weight and what preferred oil. But usually it's always different in the weight of oil. And like I said, it's probably gonna be majority of the time all synthetic at this point. So just keep in mind, get with the OEM of the vehicle you are driving to determine what weight it is. And that's easy. And I know Freightliner Cascadia, the transmission oil is the same for the differential oil on the newer ones. So that makes it life easier. You just gotta confirm with the other vehicles that I wouldn't know, but I would always call my OEM to confirm when we put the oil and the weight. All right, guys, so that was our Q&A. Again, I love that you guys are sending me questions. Please keep them coming in. If you guys like what you saw today, don't forget to pound that like button. If you guys have any more questions for me to answer, or some soon to come videos, leave a comment at the bottom. And if you guys want more content and more answered questions, don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, I love doing this stuff. It's meant here to answer your questions and save you money. I want to see you guys at the next video. See you around.